how I feel is I could take my hard-earned dollars and spend it where it's going to make an impact. So you may not like me and you may now tell me to my face all the time, and that's quite all right because I don't have to shop with you. I can be really specific and focused about where I'm spending my dollars.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our podcast. I'm Sanji.
And I'm KJ.
We're the girly ladies. And today we're going to talk about the beauty industry and inclusivity.
Yes, we're shifting your dollars to inclusive brands. That's going to be what we're looking at for 2025 and going forward.
Absolutely. There's just so much discussion about DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion. So this is where we're going to take the reins and really get into it and dive into what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing in the beauty industry with regard to our dollars.
Absolutely. Let's dig in.
So there's a lot going on in the world right now. Lots of different things happening. We're in 2025. Things are different than they were in 2024.
For sure.
So,
one of the things I think that everyone's talking about is a lot of the retailers now, they're possibly looking to pull out a lot of brands from their store. And of course, it would be people of color, those particular brands that are Black owned or could be Latino owned, maybe Asian owned, but they're looking to take away a lot of that in the stores. And it's really tough. I feel bad. One that comes to mind is the Lip Bar. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's owned by Melissa Butler. And it's not only Black owned, but woman owned. And I think she kind of rose to fame from being on that Shark Tank show where I can't remember his name, and I guess I really don't want to for what he said, but it was the bald-headed judge that called her and her partner colorful cockroaches.
oh no, Mr. Wonderful?
Is that that's his name?
Yeah, well, that's what they call him. His name is Kevin O'Leary, but on the show they call him Mr. Wonderful.
Yeah, he's not wonderful. Not for saying something like that. I mean, it's Melissa got started. She really, I listened to her talk and she said that Lisa Price, who owns Carol's daughter, she was really her inspiration because Lisa used to make products in her home in Brooklyn. So then it was Lisa's mother. Of course, that's why she named it Carol's daughter, who, told her to go out to flea markets and to start selling her product. So that's basically like Melissa's mentor. She saw her making the product in her home, and that's what she started to do. She created colorful lipsticks in her kitchen. Yeah. So that Lisa Price, who owns Carol's daughter, that was kind of her inspiration, being able to see Lisa, make her products at home. And that's what inspired her to do the same, but lipstick.
I see.
Yeah.
So is this something that you can get in a store?
Here's basically the Lip Bar story. They went into Target. Of course, you can purchase on her website, but they went into Target and I think it started off with like a low number of stores and then it took off and did very well. So then they increased the stores and they just continued to increase until the Lip Bar became like the largest square footage for a Black-owned beauty brand within Target because she also owns Thread Beauty as well. So they had the Lip Bar and Thread Beauty together. And I was just so excited for her taking off like that. And then from there, she went into Walmart and CVS. And so it's just like was this trickle down effect from going into Target and being, so big there. And now she's not so sure of what the future holds. But one thing I will say, I've supported the Lip Bar since day one, and I've only purchased on their website. I have never purchased in Target, so it's not going to affect me But I would say I really recommend people to shop on brand's website. Any brand nowadays, shop on their website. It just, to me, so much better that your dollars are going directly to that brand. And that's specifically why I did that, because for me, I was so proud of her to overcome such a, I don't know, if someone did that to me on television, I probably would hide under a rock for a really long time, and it would be hard for me to recover from that. But she didn't feel
Yeah.
that way. It made her stronger, and it made her thrive even more. So in that midst of adversity, she just, like, you truly made, like, a lemonade stand, lemonade ice cream. He did, like,
Oh my goodness.
everything out of lemons.
Yeah, and that's kind of how a lot of people I know that's how I am. When someone tells me that I can't do something, that kind of gives me the motivation to like, okay, I'm going to show you. So it's great that she didn't just shrink and fall apart. She used that stumbling block as a stepping stone. So that's awesome.
Do you remember it was Boys in the Hood when Cuba Gooding Jr. got upset and he just was fighting, and Lawrence Fishburne was his dad, and he calmed him down, and then he just broke down in tears and started crying. And it's like Melissa's partner, her name is Roscoe. She was backstage and she was just kind of in that Cuba Gooding mindset, was really being upset. But it's like they took that and just went, you know, and are thriving.
Yeah.
But can only imagine what it feels like to be unsure now, coming from being like this large brand featured in Target to now you don't know what's going to happen to your business. That's scary.
Yeah, that's gotta be scary. And that's kind of what a lot of the business owners now are facing. And then we as the consumer, same thing. We don't even know where we can go. I know you just mentioned that going directly to the company's website, but
Yeah.
still, I know sometimes for me, like I want to just hop in my car and run to the local store and pick up something, especially if I need it in a hurry. And so going on the website definitely requires a lot of pre-planning, but if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. And that kind of leads me to think about another thing that's going on right now. Have you seen all of these influencers and other YouTubers and Instagrammers who are kind of upset that they can't get their shade of foundation or concealer? So they're railing against that and they're upset and rightfully so upset. But there just seems to really be a big focus on it.
I 100% agree. And I do kind of want to tell you like a quick story. I didn't start
Okay.
wearing actual foundation fully until like my late 20s, almost 30 years old. And all I did was go to the beauty supply store and just get like black or dark purple lipstick, black and brown eyeliner, and clear gloss. And that was basically like my makeup. But the first time that I was able to actually wear some type of foundation was when Queen Latifah was signed with CoverGirl. And they specifically made shades for deeper skin tones. That's the actual first time that I wore like an all over foundation and it looked just like my skin. So I understand where the influencers are coming from. There's a few of them that I follow just to kind of see what products they're talking about. One of the things that I would share with this younger generation, because they're all about, I would say, 30 years behind me, I don't like how they're focusing so much on the negative. That's what I think that bothers me the most. For me, I was like, okay, no brands are coming out with my shade. I just wear makeup. So I focused on my skin and making sure that my skin always looked good so that I didn't have to rely on makeup. But these girls are bringing light to brands that don't like us. And that's the problem that I notice. Don't talk about them. Highlight the brands that do care about you. I think the worst thing that you can do is give your money to someone who is not thinking about you. It's almost like giving your attention to a boyfriend that or a guy that you're interested in, and he does not like you, doesn't even see you, doesn't want to be bothered with you. And you're sitting
Right.
there,
And never will.
yeah, you're trying to like just basically beat a dead horse at this point. He's not going to look you. It's almost the same with the makeup. I feel like every brand does not have to be inclusive. I really do. I'm not upset. I'm not offended if there's a brand that only has lighter shades because guess what? That's their customer base. Just like there's some brands that only cater to deeper skin tones, that's okay too. Every brand doesn't have to have like this broad spectrum. But one thing I do see is a lot of inclusivity coming up now with these brands. And I will tell you that a lot of them are Black women owned or celebrity owned. And what I love is they get it, they understand skin is skin. Everybody wants to look and feel their best. And MAC Cosmetics, I really want to shout them out. They're an OG. I mean, they always cater to everyone. And one thing that they do, I can say that I used to work for them. Every year, they would send like their national makeup artists out and they would go all around the world to find different skin tones and they would keep increasing their shade range. So from 40 to 50 to 55 to 60, like when I left. So, I mean, this is something that they always have done. They've always been inclusive in their campaigns. You would always see different faces. They were basically like, do you remember Benetton back in the day, the clothing
Oh,
company?
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they
Boy,
were
that's
just
way
like
back.
that.
Yeah.
They were just
Yeah. Mac
that.
was like one of the first ones I started using. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I mean, you have those older makeup companies like MAC and Makeup Forever that have been around, even Elle. Elf is so inclusive. And one thing I love about them is they continue to build on their brand. They continue to add shades, but they also are with Alicia Keys and her company, Key Soul Care. And I tell you, that's one brand that I feel like does not get enough highlight. Her foundations are amazing. I mean, you talk
Wow.
about beautiful, glowing skin that just looks like skin. It's not looking like makeup. So her brand is really skincare based, but it's her actual foundation. It's a real foundation. It's not a skin tint, but it is gorgeous. So we have people like Elle who are not only inclusive, but then they're out there partnering with someone like her that can bring even more people into the loop and make more people feel included. But I say that to say that a lot of the brands nowadays that are Black women owned, they're starting right off the gate, catering to every skin tone, which is beautiful. Yeah. Rihanna, she shook up the market back in, I think it was 2016 or 17 when she came out with Fenty Beauty and starting with shades that like are alabaster all the way to this super like almost bittersweet chocolate bar color. She was all inclusive and it was only 40 shades, but she did it. So I feel
Yeah.
like for celebrity brands, she really set the bar high. And now you see like Lady Gaga with her House Labs, Selena Gomez with Rare Beauty, Ariana Grande has REM Beauty, Halsey has About Face. All of these young women are coming out and having these shades from the lightest to the deepest of deep. And I appreciate that so much. You know,
So
yeah, I'm
So
sorry.
is it getting to the point where it's is it too much? Like I don't know where to go. Like is it Alicia Keys? Is it Rihanna? Like if I feel like everybody's coming out with their own brand. How does that work? Are there too many brands out there? I guess is the question.
I don't think there's too many brands. I definitely think that there is room for a lot of people, even a lot more. But it's again who you choose to give your dollars to. I would really take a look at the company as a whole. We think about Selena Gomez of Latino descent and starting this company. And now I forgot the young woman's name, but she has like a regional artistry trainer who is a Black woman. And I think that you have to dig into companies a little bit and see who's is this company all inclusive? Do they have different people of different backgrounds and different specialties that can work with you? That's one thing to look at. Spend your money where you feel passionate about. I love the Lip Bar because I love that story about Melissa and Roscoe and what they went through. And I noticed that so many Black women just stood up for them and supported their brand wholeheartedly after that TV fiasco. And I mean, she is another one that's all inclusive. She started her brand for everyone. So she had skin tint. If you like something lightweight that has SPF in it, she's got a great skin tint. But again, she's created for the palest skin all the way to the deep dark skin. Her brand's all inclusive. I was telling you that I noticed that Black women, when they're starting their brands, they are all inclusive. LYS stands for Love Yourself Beauty. That's Tisha Thompson. She's located in Atlanta. She again came from working for another big beauty brand and knew that she could do something better. So she was the first clean Black beauty brand to go into Sephora. And I mean, that's amazing. And now you have Danessa Myricks. She's there. It's just so many brands now. Serena Williams with her Win Beauty, she did a partnership with Ulta. She's there. There's so much that you can choose from. And again, be careful of how you spend your dollars. Dig into it and really get to know the brand and who's behind it, where the money's coming from, who the investors are. That's what you have to do. That's the way to smart shop. And then figure out how do you want to support that brand. I always feel like the best way to do it is on their website. That's truly the way that they're going to get the money. And the great thing about that too, a lot of them have really great beauty rewards programs. So you can get free shipping after a while, you can get birthday gifts, you can get samples, free gifts. I mean, there's so much into making sure that you're supporting them on their actual website. But if you love the big stores like Sephora and Ulta, by all means go there. But again, get to know those companies and what they stand for. Who are they giving their money to?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by what you said about that you're not bothered by the fact that some brands are not inclusive. Some people might disagree with you, thinking, why not? Especially those brands that you can find in your local pharmacy, your local Walgreens, your local CVS, Rite Aid, et cetera, whatever is in your area. And like I said, I get the whole thought of going out and just going on a website to order the product. But how do you respond to those who might say, well, what about the Maybellines and the CoverGirls and the Revlons and those who are just right there in the local area? We need those brands to be inclusive.
Honestly, I would say that a lot of those brands now, they are inclusive. When you go to like your local Walgreens, CVS, a lot of those brands, they are inclusive. They've gotten a lot better. But the ones that are still not so much, I feel like they're a little bit more, and I'm going to be careful. I'm not going to call out any brands because, again, I feel like it's okay if they don't all cater to everyone. But you have some that are in, like, let's say your really high end department stores like Neiman or Saks or Bloomingdale. There's still cosmetic brands that are there that don't cater to everyone. So instead of like, I see the influencers calling a lot of those brands out and they're upset and they're showing the color on their skin and they're saying, oh, well, they said this is their deepest skin tone and it's not. Look how it looks on my skin. You're bringing awareness to that brand. So then you'll have someone who goes and they look it up and they're like, oh, I love this brand. Oh, I'm going to buy this, this, and this. So it's almost like you defeated the purpose. You're calling out this brand and you're wanting them to go and create more colors because you want them to be inclusive. Why are you not supporting the brands that already have your shade? There's just too many at this point that are creating those colors. I don't want to support the big brand that has to go back and reformulate and redo shades and shade extensions. I want the brands who jump right out the gate and say, "Hey, we're going to cater to everyone." I want to highlight those brands that do it. That's why I like to name them, because for the ones who say, "No, we're looking at the dollars and this is who's buying our product," great. You keep your product. I don't have to give you my $200. I can go spend that with brands that already have what I'm looking for. So that's my
Right.
advice to influencers nowadays. I listen to some of them and you will just, I don't know, some maybe you would believe it. I still don't believe how upset some of them get. And I mean really upset. It's not worth it. It's just not, because there's too much out there that you do have access to. I'd rather see influencers uplift the brands that are maybe a little bit smaller, that have your tone. Let's do that instead of just being upset and calling out some brand because they didn't go deep enough. There's two for every brand that doesn't go deep enough. I feel like there's at least three more that do care about you, care where you're
I'm
spending your
wondering
money.
I'm wondering if it's an issue of cost, because I saw one the other day. I was watching on YouTube and there was an influencer and she was of African descent, so her skin was darker. And she went out and she purchased the darkest color that she could find. And when you looked at the bottle and you looked at the box, it was clearly like close to matching her skin tone. And this was for a concealer. And but then when she put it on, it there was no way.
Oh,
Like it just it wa and so and she just went to the local store to get it. So I bring up the issue of cost. I wonder if it cost more to go on a website and buy the Rihanna's brand or buy the celebrity brand? Could that be an issue as to why people are feeling like, boy, should I just protest the cheaper one or should I just move my dollars to the more expensive one? But I really can't afford to spend the money on the expensive one.
so one thing you'll notice about makeup, if you shop on a person's website, whatever the price is there, is still going to be that price in store. So let's say the price increases like that. That's what happened when I worked in beauty. Usually you would have twice a year, prices would increase. The beginning of the year, it may be foundation and concealer. Then towards the end of the year, it may be lipsticks. Everything would go up like 50 cents or a dollar. Those prices are going to be consistent. So if you're going on Fenty Beauty to shop, your foundation is still going to be the same price there as if you bought it in Sephora. But the one great thing about Fenty Beauty, the more that you shop there and you sign up to the emails, you become a VIP. So she does a lot of sale and will give you first dibs on getting 30% off your product. And then at like 2 days later, everyone else will get maybe 20% off. So that's one thing that I notice is the pricing is going to be consistent no matter where you go. They can't like actually mark up something, and you can't do that. But I would say again, buying from the website is a great place to start, in my opinion. But if you're wanting to go to your big beauty stores, there's nothing wrong with it. Just make sure that you're seeing a lot of inclusivity when you're going there and that you, again, know a little bit about that company who is in executive positions. If that matters to you, dig into that a little bit more.
So it sounds like we've made a lot of progress in the beauty industry and with a lot of these new brands that are popping up being made by those who are people of color who understand the challenges. So what are some of the challenges that are still out there with inclusivity in the beauty industry?
I think it's really going to boil down to where you shop. Because again, now you have this issue with, let's say, Target. It's going to be where do you shop? Now, one thing I noticed, Sephora, they've committed to the 15% pledge, and that was started by Aurora James, and also it involves Emma Green. And they're 2 Black women who challenged Sephora, "Hey, people of color are about 15% of the world. We're that 15% of the makeup. No, and we want to make sure that you are housing at least 15% shelving space in your store with these brands." So they're not only sticking to that, but they also give grants. So last year it was Brown Girl Jane, that the 2 sisters who created fragrances. They picked them up, and you'll keep noticing that they add more and more Black beauty. Even if it's not in store, it may be online. That's one thing that I love, is that you'll also see, like, a lot of Asian-owned beauty brands too with Sephora. The same with Ulta. I don't know if they took a pledge. They're like CEOs and VP and regionals. You'll a lot of, like, diversity and color within executives. That's something that I love to see, that means a lot to me, because then you have helping make decision campaign marketing. I think that fashion really could do, because you have fashion brands that make mistakes when it comes to marketing. And it's like, wow, if someone of color had been in the room and had a seat at the table, you wouldn't have done. So I think that that's the great
Right.
thing about beauty, is we're starting to see more people of color in executive roles that can help with campaigning and marketing.
Yeah, and that's really what diversity is all about. Too often, the conversation is about just putting people in a room who's not qualified just to fill some sort of quota. And that's not what this is about. Who wants to be in a conversation where everyone agrees, or everyone has the same background, or everyone has the same opinion? That's not a very interesting conversation. But that's what diversity is all about. You bring different voices, different backgrounds, different experiences into the conversation. And then that way, what may work or what may not work, but you only know from experience, and only those people who are of color, who've gone out and experienced what it's like to not be able to pick up the product that you want, can bring that conversation to the table.
Yeah,
So
absolutely. Like,
that's the key.
especially when you're thinking of formulating product and colors, you have to have people that have that understanding of, hey, there was a time where, wasn't so long ago, I couldn't get my color. So let's talk about that. Let's see what we can do to solve that problem. I think that you have to have more people in the conversation, and people are always talking to with the diversity being race, and it's not. You have so many people
No.
now that are neurodivergent and can really bring a lot to the table in giving different perspectives. I think that's important as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I saw one influencer she had a disability. And so she was showing how she was having trouble, like, because like with various cosmetics in the store, it's tight. You pull out one product and then there's this lever that moves forward. And so she had a disability with her arms and fingers. And so she was like working really hard to try to get the product out of the off the shelf. It's because it's not on the shelf, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, that
It
little
it's kind of locked in.
tube.
Yeah, and so it's like, wow. So inclusivity and diversity also includes disability,
Yes.
because maybe those who are making the shelving, or how these products are displayed, need to revisit those who may not be able to get that product out. And it's not just those who have a disability, those who are elderly
Yeah,
may have trouble like lifting the product out of
definitely.
the little device they have it locked in.
And that's one thing about Rare Beauty. Selena Gomez, she's been very vocal about having lupus. And she created the knobs on top of her bottles for, I guess, your joints ache and hurt. So she created something where it's not going to hurt someone who's having inflammation. Basically, that's like what, because my mom has lupus too. It's like inflammation. So she created these knobs on there so that it's easier to turn. So you think of people that have any kind of dexterity issues or something like that, where the joints are hurting or arthritis all the time, because I think with lupus too, it can unfortunately cause rheumatoid arthritis. So she made the handles a lot easier. And it's like, wow. But she had to think of that because that's something that she's going through and experiencing. So again, I think when we talk about DEI, it's like I almost hate to even say it that way because things become this buzzword for some people and it's negative. But having diversity and even like we don't talk enough about equity, everyone in the room can't be of the same social class. Someone
Right.
has to come from a different class. Everyone is not going to be rich. Everyone's not going to be poor. You need to bring people who have had different, socioeconomic backgrounds together so that they can basically kind of teach each other.
And this is where feedback comes into play. So a lot of these companies really should open it up to feedback from just the general public on what are we doing well? What are we not doing so well? What would you like to see? What could we offer you that you're not seeing out there in the industry? So I'm not sure a lot of companies are seeking feedback. Maybe they think they know what they know and they're going to do what they're going to do, but feedback matters.
It does.
Opinion.
And when I think about you were talking about the cost of product, I'm thinking about Halsey. And when she created her beauty line about face, her price point is ridiculously good. I mean, I have not seen a brand this good since LYS debuted. That's another brand where the foundation is like $24. We have a lot of
Oh,
brands now where foundations could be anywhere from $40 to $60 or really 40 to
right.
$70. And these women
Yeah.
have chosen to keep their price points in the 20s. So I think that it's a great range right now that we have of products not costing an arm, a leg, and a back.
Right. Yeah. No, that definitely matters. $40 is a lot of money for people, especially with the price of eggs going up. But people talking about whether they're going to eat or whether they're going to get their cosmetics to go to work.
Yeah,
What do you do? What do you do? So yeah, that's where the pricing really does matter. So it's good to hear that there are some brands out there that are kind of keeping the pricing in the $20 range instead of the 40, 50, 60, $70 range.
yeah.
So, and hopefully the celebrities recognize that too when they're creating these inclusive brands.
Absolutely. And then, of course, you have that OG elves. I mean, they're never going to extend their price point to where people can't afford it. That's a really great brand. And again, I love that
Yeah,
like the investor company with Keys Soul Care because you're getting a good quality product. But then you have Alicia who chose a while back to focus more on her skin and making sure that looked great before doing any kind of makeup. And then she started to add in the makeup, but it's so lightweight and beautiful. So I think that we're at a good point, which is why I wish that people would kind of stop with the negativity and complaining. Because again, I only have about maybe 30 years. I'm almost 52. So I have about 30 years on these younger women who are coming up as influencers. And it's like, geez, I didn't start wearing makeup until a long time ago. Like, we're really not that long ago. I would say being high 20s, almost 30, it's not that long ago. And now you all are coming up and you have all of these different brands to choose from. Stop. Just stop.
Right, because we
What?
didn't have that when we were
No.
in their age. We didn't have that at all. Like I said, it was just the same Maybelline, CoverGirl, Revlon, and that's what I can think of, like off the top. Oh, but there was Fashion Fair.
The only,
So there was
yeah,
Fashion Fair.
we had fashion fair, but I think the sad thing is it was a little orange. I believe me, I appreciate the story and I love Mrs. Johnson for being like
Yeah.
the innovator that she was at the time because she went I learned the story of her and she went to the different cosmetic companies and tried to get them to expand their shades. They weren't interested. So it's a fun fact, which is not fun, but it's Black History Month. So let's do a fact. I learned that Mrs. Johnson took her own money and had to buy the clothes for the fashion fair that used to tour, where the sororities and
Yeah.
fraternities would sell the tickets to go see those shows. She wanted to bring couture to people of color so that they could see that this fashion exists and it's beautiful. And she went to Givenchy and bought the clothes. I mean, we know how the couture is. It's
Yes.
handmade. So she's going and actually using their money and purchasing these clothes so that they could travel around the country and show them to people. And that's still like, I'm in awe over this woman. But I will say that, of course, the foundation didn't quite work for me, but Fashion Fair, their lipsticks, their blushes, their eyeshadows, the makeup was beautiful, but that's all we had for a while. And then it
Yeah.
came out. I learned that Florrie
Oh,
Roberts
right.
was actually a white woman. So a lot of people thought Florrie Roberts back in the day was black owned. It wasn't. Yeah.
Well, you taught me something. I thought it was.
I thought so too until I saw her picture and I said, hey, what? Yeah,
Yeah.
it
I
was not.
Wow. But you bring up Iman. That's right. I forgot
Yeah.
about her.
And
Yeah, she was
she,
another trailblazer in this
yeah.
industry.
And she went to the drugstore route. Not only was she in some of the department stores, but she actually went into Walgreens and CVS. So you didn't have to like drive super far anymore. And then you had Black Opal, but they at the time were not black owned. I learned that it was a white scientist. His wife was Jamaican and she was having trouble finding colors. So he was a chemist. He created Black Opal for his wife, which I mean, that's the ultimate like love letter, but it still
Right.
wasn't black owned. And now it is.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
So
that's where a lot of companies come into creation because they're solving a problem.
yeah.
It starts with a problem and then you come up with a solution. So no surprise there that his wife was of color and he was stepping in to see what he could do to help her and help those who looked like her.
Yeah, I love that. Again, for me, when we think of stories and companies and diving into them, that's a company that I would support because it's not like it was someone who was vindictive and just saying, let me get some money. This is someone who sees that his wife is struggling and wants to do something and created a really good product. I think that he partnered with like dermatologists to create that line. So there were actual like Black people involved in the creation of it. But again, that would be a brand that I would have supported just knowing that particular story.
Yeah, knowing the story, absolutely. And
Yeah.
speaking of dermatology, there are certain skin conditions and skin types that we have as women of color. So I recently saw a Shark Tank where there were two young girls who presented a product And their focus was not only just on the shades, but also how it helped with eczema, which is prominent in with skin of color. So some of these brands really need to embrace that as well, that not just the shade, but how does it help your skin? How
So
does it improve?
there is a brand. She came out it's been a few years. It was Range Beauty. And it was a young Black woman who started that company. It's basically for people that are going through different skin conditions, but still want to wear makeup just to enhance and not so much cover, but just to feel good about their skin, even though they're going through something. But she also didn't want the product to disrupt the skin. So I think what the one that you may be talking about is Range Beauty.
It's Range.
Yes.
It's Range.
Okay. She was looking for backing. And it's like again, she came out years ago and I think she went away for a little bit. And unfortunately, that's what happens with companies. They've got to find investors. But now Sephora has picked her up. So she's a part of 2025's the initiative to make sure that that 15% is remaining on the shelves or online to purchase. So yeah, her line, I did try it back in the day, and she really has a good product, so I'm happy to see that she's coming back, and hopefully she can expand.
Yeah, absolutely. Because at the end of the day, once we take the foundation off and all the other stuff, what do you have underneath of that?
Yeah.
You have to take care of your skin. I remember you telling me that that was just something that was part of your routine growing up,
Mhm.
having good skincare routines and practices.
Oh,
So
yeah,
it's important.
definitely. I don't care whether you buy it from the drugstore or you go into Saks Fifth Avenue, get some skincare. Always. Whatever your budget can afford, make sure that you're using something. It matters.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because I get the foundation can only cover up so much. And so, but if you've got really good habits, then that really does help. And it does help that if the product itself also helps to lend itself to good skincare, then that's a good thing. But if it doesn't, then it's up to you to make sure that you're taking care of your skin underneath, especially as we age. Because looking back, I kind of wish I had done a better job of taking care of my skin back in my 20s and 30s and even 40s. So, but that ship has sailed. So, for those of you who are in your 20s, 30s, and 40s, don't let the ship sail without you. Get, get on the skincare train quickly.
Absolutely. So I would say
Yeah.
what we learned today is really we have power in our dollars. I don't know the exact number, but I do know that women of color spend the most money out of any other group. And it's in the trillions for the beauty industry. So when I hear the trillions, what that tells me is that we're basically owning that particular industry with our dollars. So you have the power to, I feel like, spend your money where it's going to mean the most. And that's what I would say. Really start as we are coming in this day and age where a lot of people are, I'm just going to keep it real, as I say, and they're just popping off at the mouth of how they really and truly feel. It's no longer behind closed doors and you whisper it to your family members. Everybody now is just out there saying how they feel. I feel like, well, how I feel is I can take my hard earned dollars and spend it where it's going to make an impact. So you may not like me and you may now tell me to my face all the time. And that's quite all right because I don't have to shop with you. I can be really specific and focused about where I'm spending my dollars. And I would really say, everyone, do the same. Do your homework. It's not that hard to find out about companies. And even if they're not Black owned, because they don't have to be, you want a company that is inclusive and that has different, like a lot of representation and is doing the right thing. So that's what I would say. And to the influence, please stop highlighting the brands that are messing up because all you're doing is giving them win. We don't want them to sail. So stop talking about them and focus on those brands that do love you. I think that's the biggest thing. Really spending your money where it matters and giving it to those who you're not an afterthought to. You were loved from the get-go. That's what you want.
Right. No, I agree 100% because it's if you just spend so much time focusing on those brands that are not interested in you and may never be interested in you, you're really wasting your time. So move on.
Yeah.
There are hundreds of brands out there that actually support you and your color, embrace you and your color.
Yeah.
And when I say support you, I mean, not only are they putting out colors that match yours, but they're also supporting some of the foundations. And when I say foundations, I mean charitable foundations
Uh-huh.
and other things that are more aligned with who you are. So
Absolutely.
it's important to support those
It's
people.
funny that you said that because Win Beauty, when you shop online on their website, they have a little area because Serena, she had some challenges with her childbirth. And she has where you can basically take your change and round it up and give your change to it's some type of maternal health foundation that she works with. And I think that's great because we know that there are a lot of women, especially women of color, who are having a lot of challenges with dying in childbirth. And I remember hearing her story and what she went through with her first baby and not sure if she was going to make it. So I think that's something too that you can look at. Hey, I can take my change and round it up and know that I'm helping someone else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it could be even just helping somebody in a third world country.
Oh, yeah,
It
absolutely. So
Yeah.
it's
Wow.
2025. Let's be smart with our money. Let's be careful with our money. And I'm sorry, but you don't need a lipstick super fast. Let's just take a minute to dig into the company and what's going on and behind it and before you just dive in. Like let's start getting to know what's going on. That they took this word woke and ran with it, and I don't even know what it means anymore. It's so weird. But I remember when it first came to be, it was more of, "Hey, just wake up, be alert, know what's
Right.
going on."
Wake up.
Yeah, don't just not care. Start being alert to what's going on. And now I don't even know what that word means. I keep hearing it in like these strange contexts and it's just I'm like, what? It's the same with the whole like DEI thing, which is why I just, feel like just you might as well say diversity, equity, and inclusion because it's someone just taking these words and running with them to where I don't even know what these things mean anymore, which just like buzzwords. That's all.
Right, because people have taken the word and run with it and recreated it into like it really was about wake up.
Yeah.
It started like be woke instead of saying be awake, be woke.
Right.
And it's just wake up and see what's really going on
Yeah.
around you.
Yeah.
But instead, like you said, it has morphed into something that's like tied to being black or tied to being diverse or tied to and it there is that element to it, but it's really just about waking up and seeing what's going on. So we need to wake up to
Yeah.
what's going on in the
It's
beauty
it's
industry.
being
And
involved in what's going on and behind the scenes, not just saying, "Oh, well, it's whatever." That's what it means to me. It's just like if someone asks me, "What does that word woke mean?" It's just making sure that I know, that I have the knowledge and know what's going on and that I'm not just complacent. That's all.
exactly. Exactly. So we need to be woke when it comes to just what's happening in 2025 and in this particular industry. And like you said, we shouldn't focus on who's including us, who's not. Just find those that are including us and move forward and support those brands and highlight those brands on your Instagram or even in just your general conversations with your friends.
Absolutely.
This was like some really great information, and I'm sure that people will find great value in it. So what should all of us do moving forward?
I would say remember that we're spending a lot of money in the beauty industry, and it's women in general. So let's make sure that we're very careful about how we're spending our money. We have the power with our dollars. If we want to make a difference, it all comes down to money at the end of the day and how you're spending it, who you're spending it with.
I totally agree. It was about the dollar, and I think that if you can hit these companies in the pocket, they may make change. But we're not necessarily looking for change. We're looking for you to go out and just support those who support you. So that's the call
Absolutely.
to action.
This is our modern day sit in.
Yeah, let's just move the dollars. It's
Yeah.
just a shift going on. Instead of focusing on what people are not doing, let's focus on what people are doing.
Absolutely.
Okay. As always, we're going to ask you to subscribe. We're going to continue to bring you different topics every week, everything ranging from beauty to health to relationships and lifestyle. So just continue to tune in and again, subscribe to our channel.
Thank you.
Thank you.